Now, the World Cup is only 77 days away, and England will be playing their final March friendlies ahead of this summer's tournament tomorrow and next Tuesday versus Uruguay and Japan. So let's talk about this England roster. Bob, it's a bit of a weird one, these March friendlies, because England have already qualified for the World Cup, and Thomas Tuchel has come out and said we've split the camp into two. Do you think that's the best thing for Thomas Tuchel and this England squad to get the most out of this roster?
Thomas Tuchel's a really smart guy. This is not the standard way to do it, but I think that he is trying to make sure that his big players who have played so many games this year are ready when the World Cup starts. And behind the scenes, I'm sure they're thinking about what's our best team, but he put that part first. He made a lot of clubs very happy, but it still isn't the way it's normally done. But this whole team keeps us guessing because there's so much talent. You're never quite sure exactly what Tuchel's thinking. So how will it all come together is something that I'm interested to see. Yeah,
there's so much talent, but there's also so many questions as well. I think the biggest questions, JayDee, are around the midfield. If we take a look at who's been called up as the midfielders, we've kind of got the two holding midfielders in Declan Rice and Elliot Anderson.
Okay.
But it's always that question, who's going to play number 10? And we've been seeing recently Morgan Rogers, he's had the most appearances under Thomas Tuchel. Do you like the fact that he gives the opportunity to Morgan Rogers, the player who's in form right now, rather than the players who are at Real Madrid?
I don't think you can answer that question until we see him in a tournament situation when there's a pressure and then all of a sudden it's a round of 16, there's jeopardy, and now I need to make a selection. I have loved the consistency I've seen from Morgan Rogers and very much know that he's a confidence and a form player. Knowing Morgan as well, it's very much, if there's a belief from the manager you've seen in terms of what Emery has done for him and how he's gone up through the levels. Again, the same was at Forest, going up through the levels. And I think he's taken each approach with a sort of grain, a grain of salt, as they say, and he's just approached it in the right way that you want a footballer to. Focus, work on what your strengths are, and go and deliver on the pitch. But again, look at all of these players. Any one of them has a right to come around and say that they should be playing for an international tournament. And you have some magic players like... And
there's no Phil Foden.
And there's no Phil Foden on this graphic. So you have some magic players like Cole Palmer who can make a difference by themselves. Eberiche Eze's come up with some incredible goals this year. Morgan Gibbs-White, incredible industry work in both ways. But Jude Bellingham is technically the most high profile. He's already showcased what he can do at a World Cup and showcased that responsibility as well. So how can you look away from someone like that? I would hate to be a manager trying to choose one of these 10s or even two of these 10s, because no matter what, you know, Bob, like someone's going to be upset, right?
There's so much talent that Tuchel's big job is trying to make sure that not only does he pick the right group, but he keeps everybody else feeling important and feeling part of it. And that is not an easy task. He seems to really like this Elliot Anderson, Declan Rice double engine base.
Yeah.
I think that is something that he likes. Rogers then gives something different in the way he plays. And when you think about his ability to play with Harry Kane, I think he seems to feel good about that. But how do you overlook what Jude Bellingham brings? How do you overlook a Phil Foden or a Cole Palmer? So those are the questions, and it'll be very interesting how it all comes together.
Do you think Jude Bellingham will make it on that final list? I mean, he played for Real Madrid.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Mandatory, because I feel like when he gets a tournament football, I trust the players that can go out and express themselves. And also, there's a certain personality that comes with Jude. Whether you like it as part of a coaching staff or you don't, his confidence is unshakable. He really does believe in who he is as an individual. And sometimes you need that type of player. You saw it when he celebrated, when he scored, right? It was almost like, I've arrived. Managing that type of player can be difficult, right? And I'll always defer to a manager who's managed some massive egos in terms of that. But also the other part of that is the trust in knowing that he really does believe he's the best player on the pitch. And that right there, that internal confidence is what's going to separate you with the expectations on this England team of they want to win. I mean, look at the quality that's just... We're talking about one position. We haven't spoken about the two centre-halves that have been great this year. The right-back conversation of Trent is another one we need to discuss. And, of course, you have arguably the best forward in world football in Harry Kane. There's no reason from a quality perspective why this team cannot deliver in the World Cup and be as good as anybody else.
So why don't we talk about the defenders there? You just mentioned Trent Alexander-Arnold. He wasn't called up. It's his fourth consecutive time he hasn't been called up to an England camp. Do you think we'll see Trent this summer, Bob? Would you like him in this England squad?
I like Trent. I don't know if Thomas Tuchel likes Trent as much as we do. And so I would not be sure about his place in this team.
Which is upsetting because what he brings as an individual is very different to a lot of what you're going to see in world football. We can talk about this modern tactics now, the inverted fullback. He was one of the first I ever saw kind of go into midfield with an element of freedom. I mean, the passes and the chance that he creates are different. And when you're talking about a progressive passer between the lines, there's probably nobody better in world football than him. When I see a lot of these defenders, yes, they're great. I love Ezri Konsa. I think he's been sensational. Mark Guehi has gone up to another level, and rightfully so, in terms of playing for a team that wants to compete on all fronts. John Stones, I mean, how much football has he played this year? That's a question mark. Tino Livramento is another one. Can he keep fit? And there's another question mark. And Ben White is a question mark in his own right because of his concentration and what he's going to bring both on the field and off the field. I don't see a world in which Trent should be looking at this squad list and thinking that he shouldn't be involved because of his quality, because of his brilliance. The only question mark is how much games has he played? How fit is he this year? What's the consistency been like? But then that's also applicable to some of the other players that were selected. So I'm concerned as an England fan, if someone who's watching this squad, as to why he's not selected. But I don't have that pressure on my shoulders. I can just sit back and enjoy as a fan somehow.
But when you look at this list, keep in mind, Reece James is out with an injury.
100%.
And I think that Reece James, at the moment, is Tuchel's first choice as right back. So that changes it a little bit. And when you look at players like this, a lot will happen for some of these players between now and the end of the year when you're playing for titles and Champions League trophies. And it'll be key that when you pick your team, now when they come into camp, your sense as to where they are physically, where they are mentally. It's a World Cup, they're all excited, but each one comes in sort of at a different point based upon how the season finishes. I think that's always something that managers are thinking about.
Profile is super important too. So, like, you can clearly see both Mark and Ezri are incredible, both on the ball, but also transitioning across the grass in terms of defending. I see the same in terms of with Jed Spence and Tino Livramento. Their profiles are very similar. Nico O'Reilly I think he's a bit of a wild card because he's naturally actually a midfielder, but he can play left back and he's so gifted. And I think Dan Burn and Harry Maguire are almost a very similar profile. Do you go with the experience of someone who's been to a tournament before, or someone who I think has improved so much over the last 12 to 18 months? It's all about what he sees, and no matter what they say, I've been around enough athletes, played at enough high enough level to know you're going to go into camp, everyone's going to be friends, it's good to see teammates, all the rest of it, but we're competing here. Like, let's be honest about it. I've got one game, probably maybe two if I get a little sub-appearance, to showcase what I can do. And I also know the player that's probably being weighed up against me comparison-wise in terms of selection, experience, and most importantly, as I said, profile as well. So it's all to play for. Some of them are designated they're going to go, but some of the other ones will definitely be saying, I want to be at least on the plane.
If we're taking a look at the strikers as well, obviously we've got Harry Kane, and he's England's top goal scorer, so there's no problem scoring goals there. Would you take Ollie Watkins perhaps as well to back him up? He hasn't been called up into this camp, but
you're right, he's not been called up. For me, I like Ollie Watkins.
Yeah.
I think as a pure striker, if now Kane needs to come off, Ollie Watkins is a guy that's going to get into the box, going to get chances, knows how to finish his opportunities.
He does.
And that's what you need. There are other possibilities, but for me, it's Ollie Watkins.
But when you mentioned this team has so much talent, what shape would you choose to maximise the strength out of this team?
Oh, that's a head coach question right there.
That's why I gave it to the head coach.
It's going to be four in the back.
Okay.
I still think it's probably more along the lines of 4-2-3-1 because he likes still to find the right mix in the midfield. And then you've got some great choices in terms of attacking players. Obviously, the ability for Saka to come from outside in on the right side. Rashford gives you a really athletic profile, ability to get into the box. So for me, I would pick 4-2-3-1, and I would still be trying to look at that midfield to determine what do we need on a given day. Do we need a little bit more in terms of pure creativity? And is that Bellingham? Is that Foden? Or do we feel that with the likes of Anderson and Declan Rice and just what they bring in terms of pushing a game, that we can put someone else underneath, and that's going to be enough.
I'm with Bob. I would love for this England team to go out and be brave in this tournament. I've loved what Elliot Anderson's done, love Adam Vorton. I think they bring a great element of stability. But why can't we just play one pivot? Why can't we have Jude Bellingham, and why can't we play 4 attacking midfielders or 4 players that want to impact the game in the final third? And then maybe have Jude in a different, more of a transition place, in more of an 8 rather than a standard 10. And then you can all of a sudden, you can free up your Cole Palmers, you can free up your Marcus Rashfords, you can free up your Bukayo Saka or Morgan Rogers or whoever it is you select. But it just gives you a little bit more going forward. Yes, it might struggle a little bit in transition, but I trust him. I trust him to be able to get up and down the pitch. I trust Declan Rice to be able to get up and down the pitch. Their engines are as good as anybody in world football. So, me personally, that's how I would go. I would go out to try to demonstrate who you are, implement yourself on the game, and more importantly, take control of it in the final third.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.